There, you are on.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Thanks, folks. If you haven't met me, I'm Carl Pena. Please feel free to reach out to me or stop by during a break or raise your hand and interrupt me if you have any questions or corrections for the slides or anything at all. Yeah. So also feel free to ask questions after each talk and as time allows. And we're definitely a welcoming and inclusive group. So please keep doing what you're doing and feel comfortable introducing yourselves to each other, because I think you'll have a much better time, getting to know each other and doing it that way. I'd like to thank our sponsors very briefly. We've got a number of sponsors. Is that slide up there? Okay. Otimo, thank you for the location. Greg, as always, thanks for housing us over here, and Raja and Chris and the team. Cientia Mobile is my employer, and they give me time to organize this a little bit, so I appreciate that and thank them. SG2, where's Susie Greco? Thank you, Susie, for the beer, as always. All right. Hey, that sounds like a plan. And also Kathy Benson of BD.com, which is Becton Dickinson and Company. Thank you so much for driving all the way out here. Thanks for all the pizza and the food. We really appreciate it. Yeah, so thanks to our sponsors. We use the DevOps DC Code of Conduct, which currently is being updated. There's a discussion. I think you have a few days left if you want to go to DevOps DC on GitHub and check out the repo, or go to DevOps DC on Meetup, check out the repo. And if you want to give any feedback to the Code of Conduct, I think they're opening it up for feedback. So it's a great time if you have anything that's really important to you and you feel like commenting on it that would make our environment more comfortable or accepting space. Go ahead and give the feedback. The gist of the Code of Conduct is that conduct does matter. We are an inclusive and community-focused group. Attending should be a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of who you are. We have a professional audience made up of people from many different backgrounds, different levels of expertise, and absolutely everyone is welcome here. So speak respectfully and be kind to others. Use common sense. I put up a slide for those who are concerned about the door. Right now, we might have some people at the door. I don't know. Because I'm here speaking and I can't check my phone. But if someone is outside or out front, we can just let them in. Just tell them, as time goes on, you can just let them know to send a message. And one of us will see it and we'll open the door. Also, Greg is kind enough to have pointed out that there might be a doorbell we can put out there. Okay, and a piece of paper with a phone number. So we're going to take care of everyone regardless of when they get here. DC area traffic sucks and sometimes people have to work late, right? So let's help them get in. If you see a message, let me know. Just give me a shout and we'll go get them inside. This is a list of upcoming meetups for DevOps DC and for NoVA DevOps. So doorbell works. Sounds good to me. I would hear that if someone ran that. So yeah, September 12th, DevOps DC has a meeting. They also have one on October 10th. September 19th will be our next meeting, and I wanted to let you all know, where's Corinne? Corinne's helped us arrange it at Capital One, September 19th in McLean. So our September meeting will be at the Capital One offices in McLean, in Tysons. So you can add that to your calendar. And then we have the meeting after that will be here. It's October 17th. Oh, sorry about that. We have one speaker lined up already for the October meeting, but we'd love to have someone else talk. So if you're interested, or if you said you were going to speak, and maybe I haven't followed up with you, or you're still interested, please reach out. Seshu, that's you. And anyone who has a talk topic you might want to practice or share with us, I'd love to hear about it. So just send me an email or hit me up on DM on Twitter.
What's the topic with the first speaker?
You caught me totally off guard. I'd have to check my notes, but I think let me get back to you on this during a break. I have it written down. Okay. Good question, though. Thanks. I like it when you stump me. So there's been a number of events over the past few months. Has anyone been to any big DevOps or AWS style events or any conferences? Leon, can you tell us about this? What event?
Been a whole bunch of DevOps days around town. Just want to talk to them and see.
Okay, awesome. And what's the name of that event? Was it all DevOps Days Philly? Okay, that was useful for you. You enjoyed it?
Yeah,
Cool.
good. DevOps Days in general.
Yeah. Has anyone been to DevOps Days DC this last month? You were there, Asha? You were there? Yeah. I remember seeing some of you. You enjoyed it?
Well, so the presentations were good, the lightning talks were amazing, and I like the second half of the conference day is always flipped to where you choose the talk.
Yeah.
So it was kind of felt like a chaos at first.
Yeah.
But then once you get through the first initial talk, it was like, okay, you get talk, you can choose what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
So it brought on some really good discussion, and there was some notebook where we could codestar use and follow up if you wanted to. So format different than any other conferences. I liked it.
I thought the same. I thought it was very useful, and it's a very different format. And just like Asha said, you had an opportunity to go up and write your topic ideas on a board, and after that phase, people would come around and just put like a check mark, and so you take the votes from basically whichever topics had the most votes, they turn it into a sort of group discussion, like a breakaway session. So there was a lot of back and forth conversation. It was actually very useful, and the audience, participated very fully, which is very much in line with what we're talking about with DevOps culture in general. And so anyway, if you ever want to communicate more or give more ideas or feedback, please do. We definitely welcome them here, and I'm happy to have feedback anytime. So if you have ideas, talks, and presentations, or the format of these meetings, we can always adapt it as time goes by. Thanks. Let's see. Anyone have any events that they're excited about that are coming up that they want to highlight or talk about? Reinvent?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you know the date?
Yeah, late November or early December, something like that.
Okay. So
I haven't been in a few years. I'm going this year. Sorry?
The Monday after Thanksgiving.
I haven't been in a few years, so I'm looking forward to it this year.
Like Cyber Monday or
Yeah.
Reinvent Monday? Cool, that's good.
All of the AWS will be in use that later.
We'll be supporting the site. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. And ladies. So this is the announcement section, and I'd love to ask if anyone is hiring or has any openings, and I invite Susie, if she's available, to talk about what you've got open now.
Those of you what I'm looking for right now is public secretary, so I'm looking for users who are available. I'm looking for people who are interested in either systems engineering or systems engineering. So both of those are interested in someone.
Okay, did everyone hear that?
Oh, sorry, was I not loud enough? I thought I was scared.
Well, I just wanted to make sure. But if anyone didn't hear it or has questions, please come see Susie and speak with Susie afterwards. And then next, Kathy Benson from Beckman Dickinson Company. And you're here with Seshu as well?
Yeah, I'm here with Seshu.
Okay.
Kathy Benson, this is Seshu Awana. And we work for Beckman Dickinson Company. We're a global medical technology company, about 65,000 plus employees worldwide. The office here in Reston is exclusively focused on technology, and we are looking for a DevOps engineer. I have information with me if you're interested, but basically the reason why people come to our company is it's cutting edge technology and also very meaningful and technical work. So we're looking to advance the world of development. And I think Seshu can use that.
Yeah, for the last 7 years, we've been developing applications that have been targeted for patients who are in the hospital. So the moment a patient is admitted, the app creates the way they scan and create patient wristbands to ensure that it is the same patient as possible. All of the applications are developed for us, which are like supporting within the hospital. But now we are trying to expand the horizons and go to public, where you can actually install an app from Android app store, and then you're able to manage your disease conditions. So Right now, what we're trying to do is diabetes management app, so that people who are trying to fight with diabetes, they can actually utilize the app and get some insights based on their food choices or their exercise choices. They can actually manage their health condition, and they can actually ask questions. So we have some of the computer services from Microsoft which are utilized in the backend, so you can talk to it naturally and you can get responses. So all of this is what we're trying to do. And, where we are right now, facing a challenge is obviously with Azure, we have tons of resources that are mapped in that, right? And managing them between your test environment, your QA environment, to your production and your performance testing environment. Obviously, it's being a challenge. Obviously, when you have say 100 resources per environment, and then you have to replicate across several environments, and then you have to add new resources. It's going to be a nightmare. So what we are trying to do right now is to hire a DevOps engineer who can actually reduce the pain, automate it to the head. The moment you run a script, your environment should be there. That's the end state we're trying to achieve. But yeah, it's a journey. We are halfway through, but obviously we would like to have a full-time DevOps engineer who can partner with us and take on to
Cool.
So you're a full-time Microsoft Azure house.
Yeah,
How long?
Very cool.
Because only that's all we have been.
Well, thanks for telling us a little bit about that opening and also about some of the problems. I think that mirrors, some of what all of us are facing in our companies, and it sounds like it's interesting to have more details on exactly what you're trying to achieve. So thanks for sharing that with us. And anyone, please go and speak with Kathy or Sishu afterwards if you have any questions about that. Please.
We have an opening in our company too. Cool. Again, my name is Sunil Kantarati. I work for a company called Fractal Industries. Right. It's in the cybersecurity space. A lot of machine learning and deep learning into the cybersecurity analytics. So I'm looking for a platform or a solution for the basic DevOps systems. Awesome. So if anyone is interested,
All right. Cool. Who else? Anyone else? I know there's a lot of openings right now.
Hey, I'm Tom Morrison. I work for a company called Verico Technologies. We're a small government integrator, primarily in the intelligence community, just a mile down the road. But we actually have a few DevOps openings as well as a systems admin opening. So if you have a clearance or you have a goal, we'd love to talk to you. Heather's my counterpart every year, so come talk to us. Okay.
You said, thank you very much. You said Verico?
Verico.
Okay. Thanks. Anyone else? Any openings anyone wants to share? Talk about? Tell me about? Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Robert Tree. I work at a company called OmniPI. We build big web systems for people. We're hiring a couple of people on our ops team, sort of SRE/DevOps/ops/system. We get to play with big stuff, and it's generally fun. We argue a lot, and find that's the best way to get things done. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, that kind of role, you can check out our website or come talk to me. Little cards I can hand out so you don't forget us. That's us. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else want to mention any openings? All right. Well, does anyone want to introduce themselves? Anyone looking for work who wants to stand up and raise their hand? Mention it. Good.
My name is Paul. I've been homeless for 6 years, and I desperately need a job. If you can help me, please let me know. I've been homeless for 6 years. I really, really need a job. I've been doing DevOps since 1999. I cannot find a job. Please help me if you can.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, my name is Taha. Actually, I'm in the management position in real estate business, but I'm looking to get into DevOps and all this. So, anybody like to try? I've run it on my own, and I think I can manage this. Okay.
All right. Very bold. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, my name is Matt. I'm traditionally systems engineering and operations. I'm trying to get into DevOps. I used to work for Charter, and anyone knows about the whole Charter story, they're laying everybody off. So I'm looking to.
All right. Thank you. And, anyone else? Yeah.
I was on the side. I'm representing DevOps engineer for
I'm actually looking for
You're trying to graduate in the DC, Virginia area?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for coming. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Well, feel free to, during the breaks, you can mingle and connect and find who's looking for openings. So, good luck. Is anyone speaking at a conference? Doug? Anyone else? All right. Do we have anything that anyone thinks we should all know? Any announcements? All right, I think we covered that. Anyone doing anything exciting for the eclipse? Traveling across the country to stick pictures, anything like that? No? All right. Well, I'll see if are you Kathy? What are you doing? Really?
I'm going to Nashville,
Okay.
but I don't know how, they better be right there. The traffic's gonna be horrible, so.
Yeah. Well, at worst, I think you'll see it for like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Best,
exactly.
hopefully, it's extraordinary. You get some good shots. Don't look straight at it.
Yes, if some people are doing that, if you can try to be on a high point so that way you can really see the shadow. I already experienced a total eclipse a couple of years ago. And if you have an vantage point, that's really better because you can really see something moving. Otherwise, it's really.
I heard that once. In fact, I was reading some science fiction story and talked about a guy in Africa who was on the veldt at some high point, and he could see it moving across Africa.
Wow.
So it's really an astounding thing to see in person. So it's interesting. I've never heard anybody else say that.
Cool. Well, let me introduce our speakers and let's get started. I'm a couple minutes behind here, but let me go a few slides back. Sorry about the confusion and the visuals back there. But tonight we got our first talk. We have Doug Toppin, who just presented a talk last weekend, GoLang DC. Yeah, for NoVA.
Yes. Well, I know I didn't present. No, I just streamed it. That's
You
all.
just streamed it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for streaming it. It was a talk on
GoLang.
Okay.
Go and applicability in organization.
Okay, awesome. And tonight you'll be talking about AWS CodeStar?
Yep.
Okay, very cool. And you'll find out more about CodeStar shortly. And we also have Leon Fair of OmniTI, who has over 20 years in technology, architecting web-based applications. And tonight he'll be speaking on BizOps and working across business units to align tech goals and business goals. It's a high-level summary for you. In the slide deck, which I can share with you later, and hopefully in the meetup group, there's some links to the presentations, basically. But let me get out of the way and let Doug get started.
All right, if you want to give something a try, we'll try a test tonight, because I always like to potentially mess up the stream.
Sure.
If you click on the YouTube link, you're already attached to the screen, then you'll see what's coming through the link, and I'll stream the desktop video.
So help me out, Doug.
No, go to Slack channel and just click on the link I pasted in there. That's all.
Okay. Hang on one second. Let me attach from here.
Or I can attach. I just figured it would be easier since you were already attached. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is AWS CodeStar. That's been a service that's been around for a few months, or facility is probably a better term for it. It's an impressive piece of technology, I think, for a variety of reasons. I have a few slides. There's nothing, no deathless prose or anything, but it's sort of a stepping stone into a video that I've got of actually using CodeStar and doing something. So I've learned that doing live demos is asking for trouble, and that it's always a good idea to record it and then play the recording. And that will cut way down on little finger bone errors and connectivity problems and on and on. So this will be the first time I've tried to stream a video. So we'll see if it works.
So I'm not going to.
No. All right. Then we can put me on the doohickey and see what happens. Hopefully nothing bad. Stand back. I am a professional in something else. So we're going to switch this.
Definitely a fun experiment there. Thanks for giving me a chance.
All right. Now let's do this first. We're going to try this out. So like I said, the slides are nothing exciting, but what we're going to talk about is, again, CodeStar and some of the slick aspects of it. This presentation is on GitHub. It's actually being rendered via something called Git Pitch, which takes Markdown and turns it into something else, makes it look better. So it has some interesting aspects to it. Now, what we're going to do is just talk about a few things and then watch the video. And I'll talk about video, and I'll probably pause it at points and say cool stuff that's going on in it. So the key thing is this. CodeStar is a service in AWS that will combine a whole bunch of other services into an easy-to-use package that you just push the button and walk away and your job's done. But it certainly does a lot. The key thing being it will put up stuff, create stuff, whatever the right term is in this case, to create a project, build a project, deploy a project, monitor a project, all as one long pipeline. It is a really slick thing. It's an example of some serious cloud formation. If you're familiar with cloud formation, there's quite a bit that's going on behind it. So the kind of stuff that it provisions these are services you may or may not have heard of already. Code commit, get root vote for keeping your stuff. That's where you've got your goodies. Code build, get that stuff out, build it, create some kind of artifact from it. Pipeline, orchestrate all this stuff going from your little fingers all the way out into something that's ready to go into a deployment of some sort. Code deploy, stick it out there in the world. And in the world could be a variety of things. Could be on EC2, could be Elastic Beanstalk, which is sitting up on top of EC2. Could be Lambda, could be some other stuff, in fact. So it's a really interesting thing. CodeStar is a fun thing to mess around with if you got nothing else going on in your life at night. But it's pretty neat. And lastly, CloudWatch. Now, the reason that I'm impressed with all these things is that each of them you can do yourself. You can cobble these things all together on your own and probably make it work. But the nice thing about this is that it generates all this for you, and you have a working system end-to-end that you can use as a reference. So if you're trying to figure out how to use something, how to couple one thing to another, how to use the code pipeline, etc., fire up CodeStar project, go out there, and then eyeball that thing, see what it looks like. And that's what we're going to do in this. So someone said I need to put a graphic in here. There's a graphic. I stole this from AWS. It's actually a CodeStar page. We'll see it during the demo. But it shows the components or pieces that it deploys or provisions is probably a better term for it. And the orchestration of events, the things that are grouping, et cetera, that kind of thing. So now, how does it work? CloudFormation. CloudFormation is really impressive, and the tutorials are really good for doing something really simple. But I swear every time I go into this thing and I try to do something with it, I have to start from the beginning again because I haven't done it in a few days, and I got to relearn it again. And I struggle and fiddle around with it, and then I get irritated. But what's evident is that CloudFormation has a tremendous amount of power, and is absolutely worth figuring out, learning, and don't touch the admin console. In the perfect world, the way the world ought to be, the habit is, the non-perfect world is what I do. Jump in the admin console, start some EC2 instances, put them in the default VPC because then I don't have to worry about internet gateways. I mean, everything's all set up, it's real easy. But then when I try to go do something for real, I struggle. I have to go through and figure out how to do it from scratch. Create a VPC, create an internet gateway, set up routes, et cetera, et cetera. With CloudFormation, it's the same sort of thing. But the key thing behind it is if you do all this from the CLI using CloudFormation, anybody can do it. It can work anytime. It's really easy to do. You can script aspects of it. You can modify it. And you're not leaning on that crutch of the admin console like I do all the time, even though I say we are going to get really good at CloudFormation. Someday, we are going to get really good at CloudFormation. I'm going to make it happen. So the reason that you would use CodeStar is it's going to reduce all these things right here. The time that it takes to go from, hey, I just had a great idea, to, wow, I've got it out deployed in production, money's rolling in. When I say that, it's because each of those intervening services that are happening are things that you'd have to configure, set up, make work, cobble together, tweak, do something wrong, figure out, etc. CodeStar is going to do all that for you for a variety of templates, but not everything in the world, but it's going to do a lot of it. And in the perfect world, it'll do exactly what you want. Expertise. You don't got to know everything about every one of those services in between. It'll at least get the framework in there. And once the framework is in there, you can tweak it whenever you're ready. Lastly, monitoring. It's really easy to stick something out there in the world, but then not know what it's doing. Meaning, go in, take a look at log groups, take a look at log streams, set up a dashboard, et cetera, et cetera. Some of those things are already going to be done by CodeStar, and that's a nice thing to start with, basically. Again, what I said earlier, it's a reference to a fully configured working chain from beginning all the way to the end. From your little fingers typing on the keyboard, putting code in, to this is actually creating events that I can watch in CloudWatch. once you've got that template, or once you've done this deployment, you can go in and start fiddling around with those templates, those CloudFormation templates, and make it better. Don't underestimate what that takes, though, depending on what it is that you want to do. Again, CloudFormation is really powerful, and the more powerful something is, the more time it takes to, and practice to learn it and learn some of the ins and outs and layering necessary. All right, get back here. Back one more. That's my already done demo. So we're going to try this. Let's see what happens. Now, what I don't know, having not done this with streaming of a video before, is the audio. So we're going to see what happens when I do this. We're going to say, we're going to stream this guy. All right. Now, I got the audio turned down here, so I'm going to talk. But this is actually a recording that's up on YouTube that has all this. The main thing I'm trying to say right here, and I need a little bit of help, and that is somebody needs to tell me if the audio is working on the stream or not, because I've never switched it this way before. I think it is. I think it's still going from the camera. But if I'm wrong, let's see if I can tell. Actually, give me just a second. If I'm wrong, there'll be some real confusion out there. Oh, yeah, I'm willing to bet it is. Yep, we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully it's working. If it's not, somebody sing out. So going back to this. So what you're seeing right now is what the CodeStar dashboard looks like. We're going to go in and we're going to make a project. Now, the kind of things that you're seeing here are the templates that are sitting out there. So let me pause here and there. Each of these is a different template for a project. So for example, this is saying I want to make a node project, and the web application's got EC2 sitting behind it, or it's sitting running on EC2, obviously. Got Express out here, Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk, EC2, EC2. So those are all pretty standard things. It gets a little more interesting as you get further down, and you start seeing things like Express. You start seeing Lambda towards the bottom. There you go. You start seeing Lambda sitting up here. Then down towards the bottom, notice Alexa skills. Once again, beginning to end of something. Now, it may not be exactly what you want, but it's a good working reference of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a Python project and we're going to create it. Notice on the left here, if I want to filter, make it a little bit easier to decide what it is that I want. I'm going to pick Python and Lambda, I think. So it's going to filter, only show the templates that are there. So we're going to pick the one on the left, which is the Python project in Lambda. Now, yeah, you might be able to see this a little bit better. You're going to pick a name for your project, but notice the things down here. It's going to show you the different phases that it's going to go through from having nothing to having something. Source code management, build, test, deploy, monitoring. At the bottom, notice the groupings. Code commit for source management. Build, code build, and test. It's hard to see, but it's there. Deploy, CloudFormation, CloudWatch for monitoring. So we're going to go ahead and let this go. I'm going to jump ahead at points on this because the video runs about 30 minutes, and I don't think we need to see every little bit of it. So we got a name. We're going to say create that project. It's going to start the provisioning process. Up here at the top, I'm showing you the basic phases that are involved, at least in the initial thing. Here, I'm going back and saying what each of those phases are that I said just a while ago. Notice all of the tools and services you need for a development project, not just development, but development and deployment, running project. Code pipeline. It's going to fit all these little pieces together. Code pipeline is another powerful thing sitting out there. Blah, 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 deploy, monitoring, CloudWatch. Now we're going to hit that create, and the orchestration is going to begin. So notice in the upper right, got provisioning. It's giving you a clue how far along it is from having something that's completely ready to go and running in your production, if you want to call it that. You can link in or configure for different IDEs, Visual Studio, Eclipse. You can also do it at CLI, which is what we're going to do tonight. All that means is it's going to give you the Git, what you need to know, what you need to know to connect your IDE to the code commit repository. This thing is in the way. Now, I picked CLI, so we're going to pull up the Git credentials, or we're going to do use VI and Git in an Ubuntu instance. So what I decided to do is I'll do it in a Docker container just for fun. So I'm going to run Ubuntu, an Ubuntu container, or bash from an Ubuntu container, that is. I'm going to go down. Now, what we're going to do in just a minute is we're going to first install the things that I know you're going to need. So to do this whole thing, we're going to need curl, VI, and something else. I forget what the other thing was. Ah, there we go. We're going to do it in a minute. Git, curl, and VI. Yep, that is what it is. So Git, obviously, for pushing the code back up to our changes back up, because code's already up there, I should say. Curl to test it, and VI to make some changes to the simple little Python app. And remember, all that's going to go up into Lambda. So we're not going to be running EC2 at this point, or not at all for this project. So it's provisioning or setting up the Ubuntu container to get ready to go. I could have done this on the shell on the Mac, but I figured, hey, this is what it looks like from scratch. Okay, now that bash shell, that shell session is ready to do something. So notice at the bottom, here's the Git repo that we're going to use. All you got to do, typical Git stuff, we're going to copy that. We're going to whop down, do a Git clone. Now I'm going to move that off the screen in a minute so you don't see my credentials for my test account. I hit this once and then realize I got to put Git clone there. So we're going to do Git clone. Then we're going to put the URL. While this is doing that, I'm going to see if I can listen to the audio and make sure it's actually working. It would be disappointing if it's not. So give me just a minute. So as you can see, it is cloning its little heart out. If somebody commented in it, that might be bad. All right. Ooh, I just heard myself. That's terrible. All right, so it is working. Now, did I hit the back arrow? I think I did. Hold on. Let's jump ahead. You don't need to see all this. So it's going through the provisioning process now. Notice here up on the upper right, it said provisioning 100% complete. So now it's actually been set up, meaning Git repo is set, the code commit repo is set up, Lambda is set up, API gateway is set up, the whole shebang is sitting out there, and you can actually do something. So let's go ahead and jump here. I don't want to burn up too much time tonight. Again, notice provisioning 100% complete. We're going to take a look at the dashboard. This is what it looks like. On the left-hand side, it shows you all the major things that are going on. The dashboard, which is this top level code. That's where you go and look at your stuff. Build, pipeline, team, extensions, project. Extensions can be Jira. You can attach Jira to a project in this. That's pretty nice. So what we're doing right now is we went to the code repo. Commit for the project, and all the project is a simple little Lambda Python or Python Lambda function. Now, take a look at build. That's what code build looks like. You can go in and see some of the details of that. Let's go ahead and keep jumping ahead. Code pipeline. This is where I clicked on the pipeline link on the left side so you can see the phase of the pipeline. Team members. Add other people to your project. Take people that have IAM accounts, or take IAM accounts that you have in the project, add them into your AWS account, I should say, and add them to your project so they can do something. Here's Jira. If you wanted a couple of Jira to this, this is how you do that. And I did that once in the past. It's been a while since I've messed with it. Notice project resources, all the things that got provisioned out here. It's quite a bit. It's a surprising amount in terms of code commit, pipeline, IAM roles, S3, just a range of things that have been set up that you didn't have to do. Let's jump ahead a little bit more. I'm going to close that little thing at the top. Now what you're looking at here is a dashboard, a project dashboard, meaning all the panels in this are aspects of what it is that you saw. Notice, CloudWatch, it's already set up a little dashboard for that. It's already set up a log group and a stream for it. We haven't done anything yet, so there's nothing that's showing up in there. There's Git repo, you can manage branches as usual. Up here at the top, application endpoint. Here's the URL to API Gateway to hit your Lambda function. I'm going to take that URL, pop down into my little shell. I'm going to hit it with curl. See a little bit of delay? Lambda warm-up time. Okay, hello world, that's all it's doing. Obviously nothing thrilling. So all the Python script does is output that. I think I hit it a couple more times. There we go, just to make something happen. Now go back to the project dashboard. There we go. CloudWatch is starting to show activity on that. On the right-hand side, by the way, the phases. Source, done a commit, or push, that is. Commit and push. A build, deploy. So what I'm going to do in a moment is go in, change that code a little bit, push it up, and you should see stuff start happening. So we're going to use VI, change the Python script. Color is bad. Always remember that. As you get older, you'll find you have a harder time seeing these freaking subtle colors in these things. So white on black. The last good innovation in UIs were when WISE terminals went to green on black. That was around 1985 or so. From then on, it went downhill. So we're going to change that code. We added a little bit to the hello world. Going to push it back up to the repo. Typical Git stuff. I mean, it's a code repo. I mean, it's a Git repo, so there's nothing unusual about using code commit from that aspect. There's the remote for it. Come on, Doug, type faster. Commit that thing, we're going to push it. Then I'm going to jump ahead a little more in this. I just wanted you to see the code pipelines kick off. So we're adding it in. Got to configure Git. So it's completely fresh shell, obviously, so there's no environment around it. So we're going to set up my email, set up my little name. Then we're going to do the commit. There we go. Come on, stick that thing up there. All this is standard development stuff, I'm sure. Nothing exciting for anybody. Come on, type faster. I had a program manager once that actually said that. Type faster. It was a long time ago. I'm putting my little credentials in again. Once I get that done, then we'll see the actions start happening over here. It's just interesting to see pipeline go through the progression of events or orchestration or whatever the best term for it is. We'll actually see it happen in a minute. Then I'm going to start jumping ahead. There. Okay. Now the action is going to start. So what just happened is code got pushed up to the code commit repo. Hooks are going to kick in. You're going to see the continuous deployment pipeline, the code pipeline, start going through its process. There it is. You probably can't see it, but what it's saying right now, managing the source, webhooks are kicking. Once that gets done, build's going to start. Once that gets done, deploy will start below it. Yeah, we don't need to see all this. Jump ahead a little bit because you can believe me. There. So we jumped ahead a little bit. Deploy actually occurred. Oh, no, we're still in the build phase. No, never mind, I'm lying. Once that build's done, then the deploy will happen. We'll check the dashboard again. Let's pick up some speed. Okay, I think the deploys happen. We're going to go back and hit that URL again some. What we should see is a change in the hello world. Now, you can also click on any of these links, drop into that service, actually see stuff. So now we've jumped into the code build area. You can see the activity in it. Let's go ahead and jump ahead a bit. Now I'm hitting the URL again with curl. Now it says hello world, my changes. Now, this time it'll take CloudWatch a little while for it to show up because it's not instantaneous. CloudWatch events aren't going to happen right away. Sometimes they happen right away. You'll get excited. You'll think that's the way it is forever. And then the next time it'll take 10 minutes. So that was this case, as a matter of fact. First time I did this, kicked right through there. The whole time showed up right away. This time it said, I'm going to hold back a little bit. So main thing here, though, is just showing each of the events that are occurring. Now, here I've jumped into the CloudFormation. We're taking a look at the stacks. Notice it created two stacks. Stack for the Lambda and a stack for the everything else. If you haven't seen CloudFormation, this is what it looks like when you go into a stack that's existing and done stuff. Basically, you're seeing all the events that occurred. You're seeing what it was that it did. Once again, all these resources got provisioned. That is not a trivial thing. I mean, it's not a killer thing for you to do yourself, but it is nice not to have to do it yourself. Let's jump ahead a little bit. Now, take that CloudFormation stack. Let's look at it a little bit easier. Again, if you haven't messed with CloudFormation, this is one view of it. This is the designer UI. This is the guy that is fun to mess with. And boy, I've spent more nights fiddling with this thing, trying to do stuff. But an example of it is, of effective use of CloudFormation or architecture in general, is you want to launch 2 CEC2 instances, or even one. Don't launch an instance. Create an auto-scaling group. Have the auto-scaling group set to the maximum minimum that you want. Have it do the launch for you. That's the approach you take with CloudFormation, is use those aspects of automation to not create, you don't create the end state, you create the goal or desire or whatever that's called, declarative programming or something like that. So the main thing, though, is this will make you smarter in terms of the way you do stuff when you start using CloudFormation. It'll make you younger and better looking, like it has me too. So it's definitely something you want to get in. Let's jump ahead. I'm showing right here on the left. This is what the template looks like. CloudFormation template's got a lot of stuff in them. They are not 2 or 3 lines of code by any means. They are a lot of stuff, and this is where some of the complexity comes in. I'll highlight some things in here. That's not too thrilling. Let's go ahead a bit further. Here I'm clicking around in the formation, in the components in the template, just to show you what it looks like. Pick any one of these jobbers. It'll show you highlight the area of that down in the UI for it. Let's go a little bit further. Now up here, I'm showing what it looks like to go in and look at code commit. I mean, it's all going to look familiar to you if you use Git or GitHub or any of them things. It's going to be a familiar environment. Now here's another aspect of it. This dashboard right here, you can modify. You can go in and have this literally be your project dashboard. You can customize the text in it. You can customize the panel. You can add things. You can take things out. Mess around with it. So what I'm going to do is change the title of it so it can be literally your project dashboard that your team has access to. They don't need to know what you don't want them to know. They just put your stuff in here. Put your stuff in here that you think matters to them, or customize it for their use. And if I ever hit save, come on. Oh, I think I changed some text down in there. So anyway, the whole point I'm trying to make there is you can customize this dashboard. Let's jump ahead a little bit more. We are almost done. Go down to CloudWatch, see what the events look like, see the metrics. You can start adding your own metrics on top of this, or customizing the dashboard, the panel, I should say, to have the type of metrics that you want. In this case, we only got Lambda functions. There's not a whole lot. It's not like you're monitoring EC2 or anything like that. Event Bus is a cool thing. Cross-account stuff in Event Bus. It's absolutely worth. If you have to do multiple AWS account things, consider using the Event Bus for it. All right, let's jump a little bit ahead. I promise we are almost done. Project team, remember you can add folks to it. Here's the Lambda CloudFormation template. Here's what that template looks like in the designer. This is the templates for the Python code itself, the project at the code commit level. That's all that's going to show. Nothing exciting there. And I think that is probably about it. The main thing I was trying to show here was code pipeline. What I didn't show was the API gateway, I just realized. Anyway, that's something you've probably seen before. So again, going back to the top level project. So that was all that was required, literally, meaning I went in and I said, I want to have a Lambda function or Python in Lambda. I want to call it this, go. And then it went all the way down. I go in, modify the code, push it back, does everything necessary to get that thing out there in production. And that would apply for EC2 as well, if you've taken that project. That's the nice thing about that. It's that idea of end-to-end configured working that you can then use as a reference, or conceivably even use as it is that you want it. So that is it. I know that was not thrilling, but it is interesting. I can say that with great confidence that.
I know CloudFormation has been around for a while.
CloudFormation has been around for quite a while. The designer, I think, only got added not that long ago. It hasn't. The design hasn't been in the beginning. UI.
CodeStar?
Oh, CodeStar. I'm sorry. Yeah, CodeStar has only been in 6 months or less, or I'm not sure how long it's been. It's not a long life. It hasn't been around forever that I remember, although it was in beta for a good while before. And I think I was using it in beta as well, maybe. So.
I don't think they asked anything about CodeStar in the Certified Solutions.
I don't remember it when I took the associate exam. Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't in that. It wasn't. Yeah, I'm not sure CodeStar would be a solutions architect exam. It might be more of the DevOps certification. My guess is, although I don't know that for a fact. So, but any questions or whatever? I know that was quick and dirty. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nobody's going. I see that it's basically from beginning to end, like getting the repo set up and all the way out to the deployment. How about onboarding the developers who are basically new to this project? I mean, where do they fit?
So with that, you would first add them as team members. I am in the that little panel that was team.
Okay.
Then they would get a URL for the clone. And then ideally, they can work independently on their machine, make whatever code they want, and push that back. And they actually don't have to do anything else. So from the aspect of adding team members, if all they're doing is humping out code, you might be able to just give them that repo and give them access to it. And they could do what they need to do. If they need to monitor, debug, et cetera, they might have to use this. So Lambda is a little more work to debug, except keep in mind, in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that, they announced, or they support the, not SAML, but it's the local Lambda development. There's a local serverless development project they have in GitHub now that people are using. And I've tried it once and it worked really well. You can run this thing completely local on their machine. So once again, they don't even necessarily need access to AWS. They just need access to the repo. So you can get their artifacts that they're messing with. Yep.
Along the line of repos, I understand they're using public GitHub, which is great, but there are enterprises that are personal and private repos that are kind of even SVN, which is, I don't know what's up there.
Well, it's not using GitHub, it's using code commit, which is their Git repo. Yeah, it's not, yeah, you're definitely not seeing GitHub, it's going to look real similar to it. So the question was, sorry, I didn't repeat it. The question was, it looked like it was using GitHub for code commit. It's not doing that. It is using code commit repo for it. Although I think you can do other stuff as well. And you could certainly add webhooks in for other ones if you wanted to. So I like the idea of being end-to-end in one ecosystem if you can. That's a discussion I have every now and then with people. People are like, I don't want to get tied into a particular, I don't want to be locked in. There's no such thing as lock-in. There's no such thing. There is a cost to switch. You can always switch, just re-implement the interfaces that you need. Take advantage of vendor resources. Reason it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be faster. You don't got to debug those resources. They're already in place and working. Get that stuff out there. You can get your stuff done, get it out there sooner if you stay within the ecosystem. But you certainly can do other stuff outside it, but it'll add more risk, it'll add time, it'll potentially add diverse labor you're going to have associated with it. So I don't believe in cloud lock-in. There's no service that any cloud provider provides that you can't code yourself or come up with an alternative in another one. It's just a switching cost. That's all.
Does it only support versus?
I think, well, I don't know with CodeStar. Good question. I haven't thought about that. I don't know if CodeStar only supports it, but I know you can couple in GitHub to the pipeline. So I'm not sure that I can't answer your question other than to think that you could certainly interface to other parts, but CodeStar itself I don't think would know, but I'm not positive about that.
And I know it was AWS Lambda, right? So there was not a whole lot of build process behind it, but is there kind of Maven integration?
I have not tried anything with, that's an interesting question. So the question was, is there Maven integration with it? I don't know. Code Pipeline supportedly does it. It certainly does it. I don't think I saw any of the templates.
Yeah, like or Maven or Artifactory or anything like that.
Tell you what, let's go. Take a look. Yeah, all these are going to provision with code commit. So I'm not sure. I'll go back to that. So, and I don't want to burn it. I don't want to hold up the next presentation actually. So go ahead, if you want, go ahead and hold off questions till the end. We'll go ahead and switch to the next presentation. If that's all right.
Yeah,
right.
Perfect.
All right. I'm going to make sure the camera is actually still camera-dizing.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, we are back on the camera here.
All right. We might have a few more questions. Of course, we can take them on at the end if we have some more time.
Yeah.
Just to answer your question, we don't, right now, we don't know the use for it's you can support projects in the code.
Yeah. So code commit with CodeStar. So yes. Yep. Good point. I didn't even think about that being something else actually.
So should we go right into the next presentation? There's a okay. We'll keep this moving. I'm gonna call Leon over Dev Fair. Call him up. Yeah, it sounds perfect.
Sorry, I didn't mean to run long. I should have.
Yeah, that's okay.
Stopped earlier. So
yeah, by the way, so you're
yep.
pretty close on time. Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Probably want the doohickey too, right?
I have a question.
Not that guy. This guy.
You want to? Okay, go ahead.
I'm not in a hurry.
Ready for cable?
Sure.
All righty.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a restroom. If anyone wants to take a bathroom break, there's a bathroom to the left, out the front door to the left. We'll wait for MSC to start. There's also, if you go out the back door to the left, there's bathrooms that way also. Thank you, Greg. Back door to the left, you can use the restroom.
I think so.
I didn't see any other comments or complaints or anything.
I was picking up sounds of me fiddling around with the desk. I think the audio was okay. That's where I was.
I didn't even because I don't have I'll pick up the next one. Sorry.
Oh, I could have given you mine. Sorry, I didn't even think this.
It only give me a minute. I'll hit the restroom too.
Yeah, take your time.
It's like, what host was it? They're like, send me alert. Tell me to it. And I'm just waking up. So they just take it. They've never have been able to do it.
All right, are we ready to start again? Well, let's get started. Ready or not? Ready. I'm going to introduce Leon Fair. He's here to talk about BizOps. Thank you, Leon.
All right. So hopefully everybody's a couple of years in, so this will go smoothly. All right, so a few words about myself. I'm a local boy, so you can talk with the accent. I started my career many years ago in government, actually. I worked for the White House, I worked for NRL, and then realized it was boring, so I worked for all different private companies. And for the past many years, I've been working at MITI. And like Robert said, we built a lot of really cool stuff, like really high-profile stuff. So working with the companies like National Geographic, Facebook, Wikipedia. So over my pretty damn long career, I realized a couple of things. First of all, I'm really damn good at what I do. And second of all, I'm really modest. But the reason I realized that I'm good at what I do is because actually pretty early on, even when I was a local developer, I tried to understand what business actually needs and try to create a solution to solve that need. So why exactly BizOps? Honestly, I've been blowing that idea for quite some time now. And there's a couple of things that I know. First of all, I hate the word DevOps. I know it's the wrong place to say this, but I hate the term DevOps because it's really in the summer. It does not mean what you think it means, right? It's like calling a unicorn a horse. Right, unicorn is so much more than a horse. Right, it's the same thing as a DevOps, right? Nathan Harvey gave a talk at, I want to say last year's DevOps Day DC with this title. I cannot pronounce it for the life of me. The whole point of that talk was that DevOps is so much more than DevOps, right? Because that's where it originated. It's also security, it's QA, it's DBA, it's whatnot. But even in his talk, he was missing one critical component, which is the actual business side of this. Right, so that's actually was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I decided to do this talk and talk a little bit about the business side and the DevOps. So what exactly is BizOps? If you go Google BizOps, you're going to get a lot of definitions like revolutionizing modern companies and strategic direction, a whole bunch of bullcrap. In my opinion, everything not tech is BizOps, right? Like you can say DevOps is QA, your security, whatever it be, everything else is BizOps. Which brings the real obvious question is, why would any of you really care? Like how many of you here are non-technical? Managers, business people? There's two people somewhere. Thank you for that, by the way. Someone is. Our job as technical people is to develop our software, right? That's what we do every day. That's what the case is for. Except for it's not. Really. It's really not. Our job is to empower businesses, right? Technology by itself is completely useless if it doesn't support some business. Right? If you're choosing technology just because it's cool or just want to play with it and there is no end result, like it's pretty useless. Right? You can there's a lot of quotes and a lot of conversations about it, but at the end of the day, no matter what you do, the end result of your technical decisions should support some sort of a business. And I've actually learned it pretty early on. I have a customer who gave me by far the best quote I've ever heard. And it is so true. Granted, it was like at 7 at night after 24 hours of coding, and the guy continues to drink and throw out the phone call. But this quote is spot on, right? The business people don't really care what's broken. They don't care whether the disk is full. They don't care whether your code is broken. All they care is if you're making money, right? They don't care about the details. Details, it's like. I mean, there's a whole idea, like marketing technology. I don't know how many have heard of the term marketing technology. So marketing technology basically is an idea that IT group is itself should not be a standalone unit. It should report to a business unit, like marketing. Because at the end of the day, there is no goal that IT needs to accomplish that doesn't support a marketing initiative or a business initiative or something like that. I don't 100% subscribe to that idea. There are flaws with that idea, like people managing ideas and they have no idea. But that said, I will go back to the fact that every technical decision should support the business. So that's what we'll start with, right? And yes, that includes the tool choices. I know we'll like all the greatest and best. I know we'll like MongoDB because it's web scale. But technology choices also should support the business need because they actually cost money. I'll give an example. And not so long ago, we actually, to the point of the guy who asked the question before, run a pretty large Subversion repository because a lot of our customers our long-term customers who've been using Subversions for years who had that. And recently there started a conversation that we should move on to Git because it's 2017. So there was a lot of conversation on what we should do. Obviously, GitHub is a natural solution because it's GitHub. Everybody's familiar with the GitHub. They're familiar with the interface. And then I saw a conversation, and I said, absolutely not. And why not? It's like, well, because unfortunately, I have to read some of the contracts. And in a lot of contracts, it says that in no way, shape, or form we're allowed to release customer data, no matter how simple it may be, outside to the public. So public servers like GitHub is not an option at all because it violates all the terms, right? And it's common sense, right? I mean, the problem with that common sense is I had that information, but the team did not. Right? They made a decision based on information they had, which was incomplete. I love Dilbert. And the reason I love Dilbert is because no matter which comic I read, no matter how absurd it is, I read it and I'm like, I know that guy. I've actually worked with that guy. Funny enough, and the reason I picked this particular comic, there's a grain of joke in every joke. I've had a situation where it was very similar to that one, where we went on to a client who asked us to do some performance tuning for the database. And as I'm going through it, we're tuning database, we're tuning the queries, and I found a query that's blatantly wrong. Right? So I look at it, I tweak it, I make it better, I get the new set of results, I go to, it was a financial query, go to director of finance, I'm very proud. I was like, here you go, like I fixed your report. Your report is now right. It had a bug in it, it had it for years, I fixed it, awesome. Like pat me on the back. And shows me straight in the eyes and goes, no you didn't. I'm like, no, really, there was a bug. Like your report had a bug for years and years. It's like, so it happened that the report itself is the cornerstone of everything financial, apparently. They use it to report to their board. They use it to run their budgets. They use it. So in order to reconcile it back to the correct report, they had to run both reports in parallel for years, just in order to reconcile and figure out where they were. Because if they switch to a new report, all of a sudden there's a dip in a graph that they show onto investors, or some stock drops. That's almost futile. And again, this is a situation where I'm helping. Like I found the problem. So I go back to what I was saying. Every technical decision, no matter how good and hard it is, should support the business. There's just one small problem. We don't understand business. Like we don't, clearly. And neither do I. I don't understand business, and I'll admit it. And honestly, the first time I truly realized it was years ago. Again, I had a customer, they were sending, I want to say tens of millions of emails a day. They were a marketing company, they were sending all sorts of A/B splits to test what works, what doesn't. And one day he sends me a new creative, which this is actually a pre-representation of it, which is pretty damn ugly. Like it almost made my eyes bleed. And I was like, all right, fine. I've used it by now, I'll put it in. And as I started working on it, I get another email saying, we want to make some changes to that creative. We want to make the background gradient the color red and bold. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I could not, I could barely look at it before, and now you wanted to make it awful. Why would you do that? And the guy was nice enough, the marketer guy was nice enough, like, you know what? It'll increase our revenue by 3%. I was like, you kidding me? Like, there's no way. I was like, fine, you know what? You're the customer. You want to do it. You want to shoot yourself in the foot, that's fine. I'll cleanse my eyes after work. So making the change, but I come in there and I was like, you know what? I got to prove them wrong because, like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. So I go into the database, I run the counts, and it's less than 24 hours since I made the change. 2.6% improvement in revenue. Again, we do not understand business because clearly changing that to that ugly colors made some sort of an impact on responses. I could not predict it. I thought it was stupid, but hey. But that's okay. You know what? That's okay because the business doesn't understand you either. And they really doesn't. Like the business people don't get technical. Like How many times you were asked why we don't release at midnight because, you know, customers don't come, every customer is asleep at midnight? Right. How many of you got asked, like, why do you refuse to release at Friday at 5:30? Right, that's the best time, nobody's there. Right, we hear that all the time. And it sounds completely ridiculous for us, right, because we know better. But it doesn't for the business people. Like marketers, for example, is a completely separate type of beast. Like you heard the whole fail quickly, fail often, right? Like, and it makes sense, right? Only now with the whole DevOps and continuous delivery, technical people starting to get that concept. But marketers knew that all along. Like for them to release something 80% broken today is so much better than releasing something 100% working tomorrow. Because they will get 80% of the revenue today, they'll fix it by tomorrow and get 100% tomorrow, right? And they're marketers, so if they lose 20% of people, they'll get them back. For developers, for technologists, it's awful, like, because all we hear is fail. Like, you're releasing the code that you know for a fact is broke, and that's awful. So we don't understand each other at all. Like, there is this huge gap between business and technical people. So, which brings me to kind of, how do we learn to be better? How do we learn to understand each other? And actually, the definition of it isn't the definition of DevOps, right? DevOps, according to Wiki, because we know it's a authoritative source, it's a culture, a movement, or a practice that emphasizes collaboration and communication. And collaboration and communication are probably the two most things, which sounds really easy, but it's really not. So the first thing, of course, is inclusivity, right? You wanna include the people from the other part into that conversation, wherever you do it. And sometimes it's hard, right? Nobody's saying it's easy. Like, it is really difficult to talk to business people because they don't understand what we're saying. Trust me, it is equally difficult for business people to talk to us because they have no idea what we're saying. I mean, I know it's a joke, but it sounds like something a lot of people I know say. Right? And again, I read contracts. And do you know how many contracts actually ask to deliver code to be completely bug-free and guarantee it will be bug-free for the next 5 years? That said, there is a reason for those clauses, right? Because companies are trying to protect us. And there's a reason for people saying it. It's not because they're intentionally trying to annoy. It's because they don't know any better. So you should come into that conversation with the assumption that everybody's trying to do good. People are not trying to be intentional, malicious, or intentional annoy you. Everybody's trying to be good. All we got here really is a failure to communicate, right? So what we need to do is to improve the communication, right? Again, so get the obvious here. And communication needs to be continuous, right? It's not like we sit down, we talk about it, we shake hands, and great, we're going to talk better in the future, and never talk again, right? It should happen throughout the life of a project. And as we know, projects is never over. So how many of you involve business people, managers, marketing people in the requirements phase? I would imagine most people, right? How many of you ever involve them in the sprint planning phase? Nobody. How many invite business people to postmortem? One person. But why not? Right? Why not? We already established that every technical decision needs to support some business need. So don't you think the people who would know how technical decision that was made affected the business would be those business people? I heard the comment saying, when you're solving a problem while zillions of engineering managers and VPs are on the channel, it doesn't help to solve a problem faster. So that brings two questions. First of all, I would like to see a chat channel that supports zillions of people on the channel. And second of all, why not? Why do you think that engineering managers and VPs don't have the opinion of evaluating the product? Right. And I grant you, I've been vastly annoyed with a lot of managers who try to actually impede the progress versus help. But there were some, and a lot of them, who actually help and bring a different perspective to the problem. You need to judge people what they're saying based on actually the value they bring, and not just the title they carry or the role that you think they play, right? Because they can have the information which you don't that will help you with it, right? I'll give you a great example. Like, I had a situation where one of the customers had everything breaking. You know, one of those days when you're sitting there doing developer Kama Sutra, where you have a phone, like in a chat, and emails, and everybody's calling, everything is broken. And I was actually fixing two of the major things on the application. One was payment processing, and another was, I want to say, email delivery. So basically, two things that repeated business. And the CEO of the company called me and goes, "We have a problem." I was like, "Well, no shit." Yes, we have a problem. I'm fixing it right now. I'm on it. I got this. I was like, "Great. We have a typo on our terms and conditions page." I was like, "Okay." He was like, "We need to fix it right away." I was like, "You do realize I am fixing your business." I literally, this is a situation where I know your business, right? I know what's broken. I know, like, I'm really prioritizing right. I'm helping. It's like, "No, we got to fix it right." I was like, "Why? Why would you do this?" It's like, "I have a compliance officer sitting in my office right now, and this is the last thing we do to get, I forget which compliance it was, which would save us tens of millions of dollars over the next 6 months." That makes sense, right? I mean, having all the information, again, having a complete set of information makes sense. But to me, like, again, this is a situation where I thought I actually understand business. I understand what was broken. So different perspectives are extremely valuable, right? And they're valuable throughout the process. Like I said, they're valuable when you're planning it, when you set in features. That's why the role of product manager actually grows so much in the past years. And it's even valuable in retrospect, right? Talking about postmortems, when people get it together and figure out what went wrong. It's not just to figure out what went wrong. It's to assess what was the impact to the business or operations as a whole, right? And who would, again, better know about the business than business people? So I'll give you an example. How many people are familiar with this graph, right? It's a performance graph. All of a sudden, you get a spike. You sit down afterwards. You look at the graph. But if you look at the graph itself, you run the numbers. 99% is still below the threshold. SLAs are not violated. So everything's fine, right? I mean, there was a spike, there was traffic, but it was compensated by the traffic during the window. Everything's fine, right? I mean, that's at least what it looks like to the tech people, right, to operations. If you translate that is a performance, to an actual revenue, which is number of users that were affected by that, which means while performance was degraded, this many users were not able to access the site, they were not able to buy anything. It affected the end of the revenue, right? But if you don't have that information, you sit down and post-mortem, you look at the graph, you look at the inset, you look at the page, saying, everything resolved itself, nobody was impacted, we're good, right? So again, context is extremely important. And what better to have that context? In order to have the context, you need to have access to that information, right? You need access to the data. Which brings me to my next point, which is visibility. The biggest problem, perhaps, out of all of the things that I'm saying is that technical people and business people are looking at the different sets of data. Right? We have different metrics, we have different measurements, we have different metrics of success and failure, right? And oftentimes they're correlatable, but they're not visible to other groups. So again, look at performance. This is a very familiar graph to probably everybody here, right? Everything was fine, and all of a sudden, boom. All the pages go off, all the alerts go off, something's wrong, performance is down, site is down, and then come back up. And people are sitting there scrubbing, trying to figure out what went wrong. Right. And at the same time, people upstairs in marketing are cracking champagne because their promotion was significantly more successful than they thought it was. Right. We're looking at this, we're looking at this. You think it's related? But if you don't have that information, you're going based on, you're going with biased goose chase, right? Having the information would be awesome. Having information before the promotion went out would be even better, but that's a whole different discussion. That goes back to the communication. So with the metrics, you gotta do the 3 C's, right? You gotta collect all the data that you can, right? Just measuring server load, just measuring application performance, not enough. You gotta measure revenues, right? You gotta measure user perceived performance. You gotta measure everything top to bottom. And the reason you need to do that is because at the end of the day, you got correlated. Right? You wanna see whether having a dip in the performance or latency is going to affect the actual sign-ups, which is going to affect the revenue, because at the end of the day, that's what you're supporting, business. And to do that, of course, you got to collaborate, because that information is not generally available to the technical, right? Marketing people, CEOs, CIOs, they have their own dashboard, they have their own KPIs, that's what they're looking at. You need to be privy to that information, because that information actually helps both to troubleshoot things, because I have horror stories of how troubleshooting things for revenue is down. It took hours and hours. If only I had one single metric collected that business people have. Yeah, so there's that. And one final thing is I want to talk about is empathy, right? And there's two reasons for that. First of all is because I didn't have enough unit words in the presentation, so I thought I could use more. But also wanted to reiterate the point. I want to assume that everybody's trying to be good. I know it's difficult to talk to people on the other side, but push yourself on their shoes, right? Assume that everybody's trying to work to a successful business, no matter what the role is, no matter how frankly ignorant they are of the other side of things, right? Because they are. I mean, to quote Damon Edwards, it makes sense because it's good for the business, and it feels right because it's good for the people, right? That's actually a perfect quote. So every time I have this conversation, and every time we talk about it, and everybody agree, the very next question people ask is, so how do I go back to my company and implement all those great concepts and have everybody singing kumbaya and working together? And the short answer is, I have no idea. And the reason for that is because every company is different, right? The culture of every company is different. The structure of every company is different. The reporting role of every company is different, right? It really depends. More often than not, that change needs to come from the bottom up. And for the tech, it's an uphill battle. This is actually a real accurate representation of it. So if you go in from technology to business, you have to educate them why it's important. Then you have to make them, really make them collaborate, extract the information that you need out of them, make them come to meetings that they might not need, and then make them realize that what you do is kind of important, right? And you're not asking it just because you want to be, you think about it, right? From a business side of things, it's actually the other way around, right? First, you got to understand that talking to technology, because it actually supports your business, is important. Then you got to make an effort to talk to them, and then you got to educate them on what's important for the business and understand. Right? And again, it really depends on what your structure is, how easy it is to get to executives, how easy it is to get to business people. But it's not black and white, right? You can't just go in and say, we're going to do DevOps, right? We're going to do this, and it's either everything or nothing. No. You got to show the value, right? That's the best way of changing anything, really. You show a value. And the value can be real small, right? It can be generally, as a general rule of thumb, the value should be measured in dollars. And that's not necessarily revenue, although it always helps. But it can be productivity, it can be registration that are long-term dollars, it can be ease of use, it can be streamline the process. As long as you show some sort of value, you're showing a benefit to the company and you gain people's interest on both sides of things, right? So remember, the success is a series of small wins, right? It's not coming in and saying, I'm going to change everything, I'll be great about it. It's incremental steps that will help. And that's it for me. Thank you.
You have a number of good points. One thing that I have observed is that if you don't involve the business and you don't have their commitment, different elements of the business, they can positively put impediments in front of you.
Absolutely.
And they can slow you down, they can make you less successful, they can make you look bad, and they can make your project end. And I've seen that happen. I know in graduate school we studied a project at the government that had a manager that didn't want to make a change associated with configuration management system, and that manager actually caused the project to delay for several years and cost a fortune. It eventually got done. Experience for them. So it's that point that you made about managers being involved, or management portions of the organization being involved, buying in, feeling like they're involved, knowing that their input matters, and knowing that the goal is something that everybody wants to get. Because if somebody in the organization somewhere doesn't want it to happen, it's entirely possible they can cause you a significant problem that you won't even know about.
That's actually an interesting point. That's actually worth a whole hour conversation itself. That generally, especially in the larger companies, the biggest impediment to progress is not the executives, it's the middle management. Because their general feel, management doesn't like change, because change requires them to do something and change something and be correct with that, right? So while executives want to move the company forward and technology wants to move the technology forward, right? The middle management is completely content in the area they are, And the hardest part is to get them moving to it. But yeah, I mean, biggest problem with that is if the business doesn't see the value that you provide, which is technology, then you don't get a budget, you get a department costs, you get questioned everything you do, you get vetoed put on any major project that you're trying to do. I think that's kind of thing.
One thing I thought was interesting was, your beginning quote about, I don't care if my data center's on fire, and then also when you're talking about how different people view a sudden load spike differently, reminded me of a talk I saw in Prometheus about a year ago where somebody was saying, monitor the right things. Like traditionally, if a server went down in your data center, somebody got paged, somebody got woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, get that thing back up. But in this modern world of distributed applications, one server going down maybe doesn't warrant a page. It's all about, you see a server down or 2 servers down, your customers see nothing different. So how much do you really care as long as your customers are still doing what they're trying to do?
Yeah, it's also like, it is actually a whole separate conversation in itself, a separate talk. But Twitter is a perfect example of that, right? They had an example where you could go to the Twitter page, you could go to Twitter client, you could type your tweets, and yes, you get 200 backs and everything is okay, but Twitter went into nowhere. Right, so if you do traditional monitoring, servers are up, website is up, returns to 100, right? API is up, returns to 100. Everything is fine, except for the business itself is not working. Right. So, yeah. Any other questions?
So I thought the important part was how do you define the KPIs, right? So KPI, the performance metrics for business side is so much more different than the KPI that developers see.
Correct.
Right? The website response time is so much more important to us, whereas a business sees like, what is the ease of, what's the flow that's growing?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you go about, like, I don't work for a business, so I see that piece missing from where I work. I work for EPA.
Right.
I'm not looking for a job yet. But so that question is, working for government, I see that there's no drive. And we had to literally shove the drive through the throat of the customer. And fortunately for longest period of the time, we had a customer, even coming from government, who understood the importance of measuring it and responding it rather than just saying, oh, something went wrong. Like, we literally had to fight our way through tools that will measure the performance, or even do a kind of pre-release testing, a beta testing with actual users. That required money, that required tools to measure them and find the value of a feature that you're trying to roll out. So I thought that KPI is a very good discussion point for that.
So KPI, so one thing I disagree with what you said is KPI should be the same for everybody. Right. So for example, the example you brought up, the latency, right, the response times. Why do you care about the response time? Right, as a technical person, why would you care about the response time?
Well, because it was directly coming, the shortcoming was directly coming from the database side.
No, but why do you care? Right, why do you care whether it's 200 milliseconds quicker or slower? Right.
Because it's going to slow the traffic down. Once the traffic slows down for one, then we saw the load and the whole site would not respond.
Right, but that's fine. So we go one step up, right? What does it affect? It affects actual users coming to the website, right? It affects the user experience. So there's actual studies that show that, I want to say 100 milliseconds of user experience drops the revenue on the e-commerce site by 7%. Right, and you think 7% is not enough if you're Amazon. I mean, how many zeros in that 7%, right?
Well, it's true. I thought it was a little higher than that. It's really, there's only so much you can do between the web server and the actual infrastructure that gets it to the client. But it's relatively low. It's under like 300 milliseconds.
Maybe 200, yeah, but something ridiculous. I actually just look for a different token there on performance, something. But yeah, basically your goal is, the reason you're improving performance is to solve some business problem, right? Whether the business problem is drop-off, right? So e-commerce was user example. Shopping cart drop-off is a huge thing, right? So maybe you're trying to solve that problem, right? You're trying to solve that problem. Maybe people leaving the site, right? Your drop-off just coming to the first site and dropping off without going to actually looking at something. Or people don't act, right? You have a form on the bottom of the page, by the time it loads, nobody goes in and fills it out, right? All of these things are affected by performance, right? So you're not trying to solve the, that's what I'm saying. You're not trying to solve the performance for the sake of solving performance and, hey, I can get it to get 100 milliseconds quicker, right? MongoDB example, right? Their whole marketing material was, we're the fastest in the world, except we don't guarantee storage of the data. Right, so that's being fast for the sake of being fast, right? You're trying to improve performance to improve some sort of a business KPI, right? Whether it's use, registrations, even capacity, right? You need 2 web servers supporting the traffic versus 10, right? That costs money, right? You're saving some money by improving the performance. So there is certain KPI, business KPI that you can solve by your technical KPIs, right? Your technical KPIs are stepping stones to some businesses. Because if you don't have that, if you're 200 millisecond, 500 millisecond latency doesn't affect the business KPIs, then you shouldn't waste your time.
More directly address the federal environment component of your question here. Saving time and money is not a directive, right? And we laugh, but
there's some truth to that.
But that's true. Saving time and money is not a directive. Executing upon the mission an agency's directive at whatever cost and effort, right? It's all about executing upon the mission. So it's very similar to the business sense here. So you have to understand the business of the government that you're working for. What do they do? What's their mission? Can you, the technological solution to them being able to more effectively execute upon their mission, right? So every agency should have a vision and mission. And if you can execute upon their mission by enhancing their vision and by focusing their vision, that is a direct benefit to federal. And that doesn't apply to commercial. So it's very different world.
It's kind of,
well, it's not directly.
I mean, it's the same concept, right? Again,
you have to go through the process of making our business analysts do the task for them.
No, we all agree the government processes suck, right?
Yes,
I think we all agree on this.
Like our business analysts, we have to initiate that conversation.
Yes, it's an uphill battle, like I said.
So,
nobody's going to volunteer the information to you if you don't go on offer it, really. That's the unfortunate part of those things. And government enterprise companies, the bigger the company is, the harder it is to get the information. The harder it is to, unless the higher ups, actually unless the full chain is willing to support and sense the benefit of information sharing and collaboration, it is very difficult to get information because without having that small proof that there is a benefit, it's very difficult to justify why you need access to information or to people's time.
You have contractual terms, do not go beyond them. You cannot change this.
Yes.
So there are so many constraints that you have to walk that line.
Yeah. So there's 2 primary functions, right? There's the function of executing upon the federal agency's mission, right? And that's why as a contractor you're there. But as a contractor representing a business, your job is to farm the account, to make more efficient the operations of the account, right? So it's always kind of a balance of merging what your business operation objectives are versus the government agency's mission is. And there's no formula for that. You have to find that middle.
My company wants to win the contract again. If it's up for recompete,
yeah.
My company will win the contract again. For
right. And again, what are the criteria? Right. And maybe that's a question for the account rep, right? What is the criteria to win the contract, right? What is the benefit you can show in your bid that you can provide, especially if you know the system, right? What is the benefit you can provide in saying, if we improve your, not just we're going to improve your performance to 100 milliseconds, because that example is a perfect example. Nobody cares, right? No business person, people, not that they don't care, they don't understand what that means. They don't understand. 200 milliseconds is what? 0.2 of a second? Who cares about 0.2 of a second?
We asked for a tool to measure, and they were like, why are you spending all this money? And by and by, we are in the upgrade mode to Oracle. And
it needs to be right. It needs to be framed not in this way that we're going to improve the performance. It's going to be framed in the way we're going to improve the user experience. That's going to improve the business result that you're looking for. Yeah. Registration, signups, revenue, whatever the end result for the business it is. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to solve the performance problem, right? Performance problem is a byproduct of solving the business problem.
So in the case of a federal agency, how can I help you do your job more efficiently
correct.
And better and easily? And
you frame the solution in a way that business people understand. understand, not even the technical. That's the miscommunication, right? Again, I'm going to improve the performance. The answer is so, right? Who cares? Say, I'm going to save you I'm going to increase your revenue by 7%. That's a real tangible result that people are interested in, right?
See, we don't have an argument.
How are you going to save it? It's completely irrelevant. Again, it's going back to my data center is on fire. Nobody cares how. Nobody cares what code you're going to write, what technology you're going to use. If you, like you said, I'm going to improve performance and I'm going to increase revenue. Nobody cares, right? I'm going to increase revenue by 7%, right? That's the goal. Or I'm going to increase your signups, or I'm going to save you X number of dollars, right? That is the goal the business understands, right? Everything else is computer, technological details that nobody cares about.
Why do you want to measure? We need to measure to be able to be ready. We ended up using the tool so much because it clearly pinpointed to the problem where we could have shot in the dark for 7 months, and here we were able to say, it's your problem, or fix it. You need to give me a patch.
Efficiency, effectiveness, money saving, anything that's understandable by business people should be the result that you go to them, right? Because again, you had hit the nail on the head. Going to the business people saying, I want to solve this technical problem, is not going to work, right? I want to move from technology X to technology Y. Nobody cares.
But we do need to be clear that not necessarily all federal representation is business representation.
Correct.
So they may not be looking to maybe more, to better their environment. It's about, and the federal side specifically, I know the commercial side is very aggressive on the bottom line, right?
Yeah, it's free side.
By business, I mean the non-technical unit.
Exactly.
Non-technical KPIs and this set.
So it's about selling and how it makes their job easier, how it makes them look better. And I know that's not necessarily PC to say, but if you can make your PO look a little bit better, that helps them fight for you on the back end as well, right? So in the federal world, it's kind of a I scratch your back, you scratch my back, in the sense that how can I help you execute on your mission better, faster, cheaper, more efficiently? And that's how you win deals. And that's
a lot of it is also find the champion, right? Find the champion who will fight that battle, because a lot of times you can't go that far up the chain to actually make an impact or talk to anybody. Find somebody. They don't have to be DC, XO, whatever the B is. They don't have to be VP. Find somebody who is closer to the people who make a decision, who gets you a mission, who understands what you're trying to do, can go to fight that fight. And again, it's a whole scratch your back. Show the benefit to that person, because then they're going to fight tooth and nail, because it's their job. They're going to be made to look even better.
Cool. Good question. A lot of discussion. And I'd love to see that continue. So maybe we should close it up and allow people to continue the conversation either on Slack or next time you guys are here, because it's getting pretty late and I want to send everyone home. And some of us, I guess Otimo is hosting us here, and I know he's really got to get out of here. So I'm sorry to cut it short. Leon, thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you guys for the discussion. Can I ask you one question? Were you talking about, you said a PO. What does that stand for?
Your program office.
Program office. Okay.
Point of contact.
Contract officer, program
contract officer. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of that line of manager.
Okay. So it could be him or
product owner too. So your product owner lives in the program. Yeah.